Minecraft Live has officially ended, and man, is there a ton of updates coming to the game in the next 6 months. From new secrets revealed in the Wild update to all the stuff you missed in Caves and Cliffs, let's kick it off with what we learned from Minecraft Live 2021. Okay, so by far one of the biggest announcements Mojang made was that Minecraft will be coming to the Xbox Game Pass for PC next month, and surprisingly, new tools to create your own mobs were also announced, and they look incredible.
Okay.
And like previous years, the community voted on what new mob would be added to Minecraft. We had the choice of Glare, Allay, and Copper Golem. And eventually it came down to a battle between Allay and Golem, and Mojang then announced that the winner was Allay. Yep, it'll be coming next year as part of a new update named the Wild Update. And if you want to know exactly what this Wild Update is, well, let's break it down. I mean, we haven't even gotten the second part of Caves and Cliffs yet, and Mojang has already revealed what's next for Minecraft in 2022. The Wild Update is going to be the name for 1.19, and it's going to celebrate the exploration of Minecraft and the wilderness of the game. It'll feature some changes to the overworld, like changing up some biomes, adding new mobs, and also new areas. For starters, a new area will be added in 1.19 called Mangrove Swamps. It'll be part of the world that includes a new mangrove wood type, a mud block that lets you make mud bricks, and a lot more. And in these swamps, you'll be able to find boats with chests and even a new mob. So what mob would you expect in a swamp like this? Well, you might have already guessed it, frogs. But this isn't the headline for the Wild Update. It'll also change up some biomes like the Birch Forest biome. According to Mojang, 1.19 will actually bring a lot of fixes to this biome, make the trees taller and more spread out, and give it plenty of space for wildflowers and shrubs. I mean, come on, let's be real. This is one of the most boring biomes in the game, so it's nice to see Mojang trying to make it a little more refreshing. Of course, we'll also get the new Allay mob at 1.19 that won the vote, and it'll be a little blue fairy with bat wings. If you give it an item, it will go and search for dropped items of that same type, and then drop it near a note block because, I mean, it loves to dance. A little bit of a weird mob, but it sounds so adorable though. But what everyone is focusing on in the Wild Update is something that was originally supposed to come out this year, and that is the Deep Dark. When it was announced for Caves and Cliffs Part 2, we all assumed it was gonna be like a creepy cave biome, but Mojang has now delayed its release and it'll be dropping with 1.19 instead. Let me tell you, it'll be worth the wait though, because the Deep Dark is going to be more than just a cave. It'll be a fully underground abandoned civilization filled with loot and places to explore, and you'll find it at the very bottom of your Minecraft world. You'll be able to find special items and chests that you can't get anywhere else. I mean, it'll definitely be worth coming down here. But there is one thing in this place you probably won't want to come across. Let me introduce you to 1.19's scariest addition to date, the Warden. Now, we're all used to mobs who just attack us on sight or chase us through a cave, and yeah, while that could be thrilling, it won't be as creepy as this new guy. He's going to be the first fully blind mob in Minecraft, meaning he won't just come at you from afar, he will actually detect vibrations and sounds you make. But in fact, it's not the only feature that makes the Warden extremely unique. I'm not even joking, he is so powerful that Mojang themselves recommend not to fight him because he's mostly there just to scare you away. Now, luckily, there is a good defense to get away from him and avoid a deadly fight. Because he's blind, he reacts to sounds like footsteps and projectiles. So just throw snowballs or arrows to distract him, or simply sneak so he can't hear you. But I mean, look at this guy, he is straight out of a horror film. But some other cool features about the Wardens are that they won't attack each other, and if you do get into a fight with them, prepare for a tough battle. They get faster when they're attacked, and they pretty much insta-kill you, so even if you had full netherite armor, you'll be dead in 2 hits. Yes, that makes the Warden the most powerful mob in all of Minecraft. And to make that point even clearer, Mojang just didn't stop with the creepiness. When a Warden is near, all the lights in a room will start to flicker, Stranger Things style. It's also twice as tall as a player, making it even taller than an Enderman, and you can hear its heartbeat when it walks around. I mean, there's just back-to-back OP abilities here. But all of that creepiness aside, it is just one addition in the Deep Dark. I mean, it's not a new huge Minecraft update if there aren't some insane new blocks, and the biome is bringing one of the most unique sets of blocks we've had in a while. It's a set of blocks made of something called Sculk, and they are the backbone of 1.19. Naturally, the main one is the Sculk block, which will be generated in the Deep Dark. I mean, you'll find them everywhere. But to understand it, you have to pay attention to how the Sculk blocks actually work, and let me tell you, they are insane. They are the material that the Warden is made out of, and while the normal block is just there for decoration, there are other Sculk blocks that are going to have insanely useful purposes. Firstly, we have the Sculk sensor, which will actually look for movement and vibrations, and then send a redstone signal once it detects them. This will be insane for making things like automatic lights, doors, wireless redstone, and more. It's gonna be huge. There are a few other blocks, one of which is called the Sculk Catalyst. This is what causes the Sculk to spread, so when a mob dies, the catalyst will spread the Sculk over to the place where it died. And it'll spread more based on the EXP that the mob has. You get even more XP for farming the Sculk. But there will be another block called the Skulk Shrieker, which you will want to avoid. It's essentially a booby trap that detects sound, and if you make enough vibrations, it will give you a darkness effect and eventually just straight up spawn the warden. It sounds terrifying. But even if you don't activate these shriekers and you're super careful, the warden could still spawn when you're nearby because he can smell you. Because, I mean, come on, of course he can. So no matter how careful you are down here, you're gonna poop your pants eventually. And while the wild update sounds insanely cool, the biggest changes to Minecraft are yet to come in 1.18. This will be dropping either next month or December, and for you to be fully prepared for it, here's everything coming in the Caves and Cliffs holiday update. Okay, so there's a new item that is exclusive to the new goat mobs, and you could only get it in a certain way. It's the goat horns, and they can be obtained when you make a goat ram into a solid block. Now, it's not that useful right now. In fact, it's pretty much pointless to have, as the goat horn only makes a horn sound, and that's about it. Now, luckily, Mojang are planning on making more use out of this horn in the future, but for now, there's no real use in picking one of these up. And another new item is one that you can't even get in survival mode, and obviously, it's the warden spawn egg. People are gonna go nuts with this thing, but I think we're all way more interested in new biomes. Okay, one of the coolest and biggest parts of Caves and Cliffs are the new changes to world generation coming in 1.18. Starting from the bottom of a mountain all the way to the peak, they will be split into 5 sub-biomes. The first are meadows. These are the lowest layer of a mountain, which will look like flowery plains. It'll also have a ton of grass and flowers, as well as rabbits, sheep, and donkeys. Then, as we move up the mountain, we'll get to the mountain grove. This is covered in snow and spruce trees, and way more mobs will spawn here. Expect wolves, foxes, pigs, chickens, cows, and more. This is where most of the passive mobs will spawn. Then we move even further up the mountain, and we get to the snowy slopes. These will be completely covered in snow and also ice. Only rabbits and goats will spawn here. And finally, as we get to the peak of the mountain, there are only 2 versions that can be generated. If the mountain is high enough, it could either generate a lofty peak or a snow-capped peak. Kind of depends on the surrounding biomes, but all the way up here, only goats will spawn. While it's kind of cool to see mountains revamped like this, it is nowhere near as drastic a change as caves. Yeah, they have been completely overhauled in 1.18. Not only can they generate much further in the ground, but the way they get generated is completely different. Now there's different kinds of cave generations. One of these types are called noise caves, and they come in 3 versions: cheese, spaghetti, and noodle. Cheese caves have large stone towers stretching from the bottom of the cave to the top. They are extremely large and will have a ton of ores, springs, and aquifers. Then we have spaghetti caves, which are long, thin generations that are more similar to the original versions. And finally, there's noodle caves, which are like spaghetti ones, but even more thin and claustrophobic. But those are just types of noise caves. There are 2 other new types of caves coming in 1.18 that are going to change the way Minecraft works forever. The first of these are lush caves. They're going to be beautiful looking caves full of vines, fruit, and flowers that hang from the ceilings. They'll be covered in azalea plants, which could also turn dirt into rooted dirt. And if you find roots hanging underneath rooted dirt, you could also harvest it. There are also spore blossoms, which are pink flowers on the roof of the caves, and these are joined by moss, which also grows. So what else? Well, the vines in the lush caves could also have glowberries on them. You pick them up and eat them, which gives you a tiny amount of hunger, but if you keep them on the vines without harvesting them, they're a nice little natural glow and light up in the cave. And then finally, the lush caves include a new type of plant called the drip leaf. This is a plant where the leaves can be jumped on, but unfortunately standing on them too long will cause them to droop, and you'll eventually fall straight through. And so the water in these lush caves are where you will find the axolotls from 1.18 onwards, instead of underground rivers where you can currently spot them. But all of that is just in the lush caves. There's one more cave which looks absolutely phenomenal, and it's the Dripstone Caves. In part 1 of Caves and Cliffs, we got some items that will be included in the new caves, but 1.18 will give us the real deal. The new Dripstone Caves will be filled with the dripstone blocks and pointed dripstone, and it'll hang from the ceiling and grow from the ground as stalagmites. They also drip water from the ceiling, and you'll be able to use a bucket to actually collect it, which will be super useful when you're in need of it. Watch out though, it can also drip lava, but you can collect that in your bucket as well. In the deepest part of all these caves though, there are changes to the fossils that spawn there. Now instead of coal ore, these fossils will have deep slate diamond ore. And speaking of ore, 1.18 will give us ore veins, which are large and rare formations of ore. So just below y=0, you'll be able to find iron ore veins mixed with tough and raw iron blocks. And when above y=0, you'll be able to find copper ore veins, which are mixed with granite and raw copper. I cannot wait for this, and as we mentioned, a lot of these features are going to be rolled out as we speak in experimental snapshots. One of the most recent snapshots had changes to mob spawns where they will now spawn in actual darkness. You don't have to worry about dimly lit areas anymore. And I gotta say, it is just the tip of the iceberg. 1.18 releases in a month, and 1.19 is in the new year, so there is so much content to look forward to. Expect all of that new content to be covered here on T5G. Thanks so much for watching, guys. It's been Tommy.